ओके, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। तो स्क्रीन शेयर करूँ मैं? कौन सा है? ये वाला है, ये ऐसा है, छोटा कर देते हैं इसको। ठीक है, रेडी। और 1 मिनट वेट करते हैं फिर हम।
प्रभु जी, आज कितना चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। श्री चैतन्य मनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पदान सहगण ललिता श्री विशाखा नितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपिका गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी कृष्ण भानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरूपस्य कृपा सिंधु भयेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Welcome everyone on this evening session of Bhagavatam reading. We are going to start Maharaj Prathu's Going Back Home chapter. Text 1 to 3. At the last stage of his life, when Maharaj Prithu saw himself getting old, that great soul who was king of the world divided whatever opulence he had accumulated amongst all kind of living entities, moving and non-moving. He arranged pensions for everyone according to religious principles, and after executing the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in complete coordination with him, he dedicated his sons unto the earth, which was considered to be his daughter. Then Maharaj Prithu left the presence of his citizens, who were almost lamenting and crying for feeling separation from the king, and went to the forest alone with his wife to perform austerities. Text 4. After retiring from family life, Maharaj Prithu strictly followed the regulations of retired life and underwent severe austerities in the forest. He engaged in these activities as seriously as he had formerly engaged in leading the government and conquering everyone. Text 5. In the Tapovan, Maharaj Prithu sometimes uh, ate the trunks and roots of trees. Sometimes he ate fruits and dried leaves, and for some weeks he drank only water. Finally, he lived simply by breathing air. Text 6. Following the principles of forest living and the footsteps of the great sages and munis, Prithu Maharaj accepted 5 kinds of heating processes during the summer season, exposed himself to torrent of rain in the rainy season, and in the winter stood in water up to his neck. He also used, used to simply lie down on the floor to sleep. Text 7. Maharaj Prithu underwent all these seven austerities in order to control his words and his senses, to refrain from discharging his semen, and to control the life air within his body. All this he did for the satisfaction of Krishna. He had no other purpose. Text 8. By thus practicing seven austerities, Maharaj Prithu gradually became steadfast in spiritual life and completely free of all desires for fruitive activities. He also practiced breathing exercise to control his mind and senses, and by such control he became completely free from all desires for fruitive activity. Text 9. Thus, the best amongst human beings, Maharaj Prithu followed that path of spiritual advancement which was advised by Sanat Kumar. That is to say, he worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Text 10. Maharaj Prithu thus engaged completely in devotional service, executing the rules and regulations strictly. प्रभु जी स्क्रॉल करिए थोड़ा.
कुछ स्क्रॉल हो गया है आपका नेटवर्क इशू है
नेटवर्क
क्या?
नेट तो ठीक चल रहा है।
हाँ तो स्क्रॉल हो गया, बाकी दोस्तों को भी नहीं दिख रहा है क्या?
नहीं, मेरे को टेक्स्ट 10 अच्छे से नहीं आ रहा है क्लियर। हाँ, अब हो गया, अब
टेक्स्ट
हो
10 तो चल रहा है, 10 11 12 13 14 क्लियर है कोई भी।
गया। ओके। महाराज पृथु thus engaged completely in devotional service, executing the rules and regulations strictly according to principles 24 hours daily. Thus, his love and devotion unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna developed and became unflinching and fixed. By regularly discharging devotional service, Prithu Maharaj became transcendental in mind and could therefore constantly think of the lotus feet of the Lord. Because of this, he became completely detached and attained perfect knowledge by which he could transcend all doubts. Thus, he was freed from the clutches of false ego and the material conception of life. Text 12. When he became completely free from the conception of bodily life, Maharaj Prithu realized Lord Krishna sitting in everyone's heart as the Paramatma. Being thus able to get all instructions from him, he gave up all other practices of yoga and jnana. uh, he was not even interested in the perfection of yoga and jnana system, for he thoroughly realized that devotional service to Krishna is the ultimate goal of life, and that unless yogis and jnanis became attracted to Krishna Katha, narrations about Krishna, their illusions concerning existence can never be dispelled. Text 13. In due course of time, when Prithu Maharaj was to give up his body, he fixed his mind firmly upon the lotus feet of Krishna, and thus completely situated on the Brahma Bhut platform, he gave up the material body. Text 14. When Maharaj Prithu practiced particular particular yogic sitting posture, he blocked the door of his anus with his ankles, pressed his right and left calves, gradually raised his live hair upward, passing it on the circle of his navel up to his heart and throat, and finally pushed it upward to the central position between his two eyebrows. Text 15. In this way, Prathu Maharaj gradually raised this air of life up to the whole of his skull, whereupon he lost all desire for material existence. Gradually, he merged his air of life with the totality of air, his body with the totality of earth, and fire with his body with the totality of fire. हरे कृष्णा। रौनक प्रभु, आप कंटिन्यू कर सकते हैं।
हाँ हिमांशु प्रो आप कंटिन्यू करिए ना। हरे कृष्ण बोलिए।
जी करेंगे। टेक्स्ट 16 से करो ना। Text 16. Uh, in this way, according to the different position of the various parts of the body, Krishna Maharaj merged the whole of the senses with the sky, his bodily liquids such as blood and various secretions with the totality of water, and he merged earth with water, then water with fire, fire with air, air with sky, and so on. 17. He amalgamated the mind with the senses and the senses with sense objects according to their respective positions, and he also amalgamated the material ego with the total material energy Mahasattva. 18. Krishna Maharaj then offered the total designation of the living entity and the supreme controller of illusory energy. Being released from all the designation by which the living entity became entrapped, he became free by knowledge and renunciation, and by the spiritual force of his devotional service. In this way, being situated in his original constitutional position of Krishna consciousness, he gave up his body as a Prabhu or a controller of the senses. Prabhu was the controller of senses. 19. The wife of Krishna Maharaj, whose name was Arti, followed her husband into the forest. Since she was a queen, her body was very delicate, Although she did not deserve to live in the forest, she voluntarily touched her lotus feet to the ground. 20. Although she was not accustomed to different difficulties, Queen Archie followed her husband in the regulative principles of living in the forest like great sages. She lay down on the ground and ate only fruits, flowers, and leaves. And because she was not fit for these activities, she became frail and thin. Yet, because of the pleasure she derived in serving, Hare Krishna, she derived in serving her husband, she did not feel any difficulty.
मेरी आवाज आ रही है सबको?
जी प्रभु।
Okay. 20. Although she was not accustomed to such difficulties, Queen Archie followed her husband in the regulative principles of living in the forest like great sages. She lay down on the ground and ate only fruits, flowers, and leaves. And because she was not fit for these activities, she became frail and thin. Yet, because of the pleasure she derived in serving her husband, she did not feel any difficulties. 21. When Queen Archie saw her husband, who had been so merciful to her and the earth, no longer showed symptoms of life, she lamented for a little while and then built a fiery pyre on top of a hill and placed her body on her husband and placed the body of her husband on it. 22. After this, the queen executed the necessary funerary functions and offered oblations of water. After bathing in the river, she offered obeisances to various demigods situated in the sky in the different planetary systems. She then circumambulated the fire and, while thinking of the lotus feet of her husband, entered its flames. 23. After observing this brave act performed by the chaste wife Archie, the wife of the great king Prithu, many thousands of the wives of the demigods, along with their husbands, offered prayers to the queen, for they were very much satisfied. 24. At that time, the demigods were situated on the top of Mandara hill, and all their wives began to shower flowers on the funeral pyre and began to talk among themselves as follows. 25. The wives of the demigods said, "All glories to Queen Archie. We can see that this queen of the great King Pithu, the emperor of all the kings of the world, has served her husband with mind, speech, and body exactly as the goddess of fortune serves the supreme personality of Godhead, Yagnesha or Vishnu, Yagnesha." 26. The wives of the demigod continue. Just see how this chaste lady Archie, by dint of her inconceivable pious activities, is still following her husband upward, as far as we can see. 27. In this material world, every human being has a short span of life, but those who are engaged in devotional service go back home, back to Godhead, for they are actually on the path of liberation. For such persons, there is nothing which is not available. 28. Any person who engages himself within this material world in performing activities that necessitate great struggle and who, after obtaining a human form of life, which is a chance to attain liberation from miseries, undertakes the difficult task of fruitive activities, must be considered to be cheated and envious of his own self. 29. The great sage Maitreya continued speaking. My dear Vidura, when the wives of the denizens of heaven were thus talking amongst themselves, Queen Archie reached the planet which her husband Maharaj Prithu, the top most self-realized soul, had attained. 30. Maitreya continued. The greatest of all devotees, Maharaj Prithu, was very powerful, and his character was liberal, magnificent, and magnanimous. Thus I have described him to you as far as follows. 31. Any person who describes the great characteristics of King Prithu with faith and determination, whether he reads or hears of them himself or helps others to hear of them, is certain to attain the very planet which Maharaj Prithu attained. In other words, such a person also returns home to the Vaikuntha planets back to Godhead. 32. If one hears of the characteristics of Prithvi Maharaj and is a Brahmana, he becomes perfectly qualified with Brahminical powers. If he is a Kshatriya, he becomes a king of the world. If he is a Vaishya,
he becomes a master of other Vaishyas and many animals. And if he is a Sudra, he becomes the topmost devotee. 33. It does not matter whether one is a man or woman. Anyone who, with great respect, hears this narration of Maharaj Prithu will become the parent of many children, if without children, and will become the richest if without money. 34. Also, one who hears this narration 3 times will become very reputable if he is not recognized in society, and he will become a great scholar if he is illiterate. In other words, hearing of the narrations of Prithu Maharaj is so auspicious that it drives away all bad luck. 35. By hearing the narration of Prithu Maharaj, one can become great, increase his duration of life, gain promotion to the heavenly planets, and counteract the contamination of this age of Kali. In addition, one can promote the causes of religion, economic development, sense gratification, and liberation. Therefore, from all sides, it is advisable for a materialistic person who is interested in such things to read and hear the narrations of the life and character of Prithu Maharaj. 36. If a king who is desirous of attaining victory and ruling power chants the narration of Prithu Maharaj 3 times before going forth on his chariot, all subordinate kings will automatically render all kinds of taxes unto him as they rendered them to Maharaj Prithu simply upon his order. 37. A pure devotee who is executing the different processes of devotional service may be situated in the transcendental position, being completely absorbed in Krishna consciousness. But even he, while discharging devotional service, must hear, read, and induce others to hear about the character and life of Prithu Maharaj. 38. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, I have as far as follows spoken the narrations about Prithu Maharaj, which enrich one's devotional attitude. Whoever takes advantage of these benefits also goes back home, back to Godhead like Maharaj Prithu. 39. Whoever with great reverence and adoration regularly reads, chants, and describes the history of Maharaj Prithu's activity will certainly increase unflinching faith and attraction for the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord's lotus feet are the boat by which one can cross the ocean of nescience. Hare Krishna. पढ़िए संबित प्रभु पढ़िए.
जी प्रभु, ये वाला बोल रहे थे कि ये वाला 82 वर्सेस है, तो मैं रौनक प्रभु और शुभम प्रभु हैं, तो 3 जन मिलके पढ़ लेंगे वाला.
जी जी जी
82
जरूर
वर्सेस.
जी.
Chanting of the song sung by Lord Shiva. Text 1. The great sage Maitreya continued. Vijitaswa, the eldest son of Maharaja Prithu, who had a reputation like his father, became emperor and gave his younger brothers different directions of the world to govern, for he was very affectionate towards his brothers. Text 2. Maharaja Vijitaswa offered the eastern part of the world to his brother Haryaksha and the southern part to Dhumrakesha. The western part to Varka, and the northern part to Dravina. Text 3. Formerly Maharaja Vijitaswa pleased the king of heaven, Indra, and from him received the title Antardhana. His wife name was Shikhandini, and by her he begot 3 good sons. Text 4. The 3 sons of Maharaj Antardhana were named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi. Formerly, these 3 personalities were the demigods of fire, but due to the cause of the great sage Vaishashta, they became the sons of Maharaj Antardhana. As such, they were as powerful as the fire gods, and they attained the destination of mystic yoga power, being again situated in as the demigods of fire. Text 5. Maharaj Antardhana had another wife, namely Nabhaswati, and by her he was happy to beget another son named Havirdhana. Since Maharaj Antardhana was very liberal, he did not kill Indra while the demigod was stealing his father's horse as sacrifice. Tip 6. Whenever Antardhana, the supreme royal power, had to exact taxes, punish his citizens, or fine them severely, he was not willing to do so. Consequently, he retired from the execution of such duties and engaged himself in the performance of different sacrifices.
Text 7. Although Maharaj Antardhana was engaged in performing sacrifices, because he was self-realized soul, he very intelligently rendered devotional services to the Lord, who eradicates all the fears of his devotees by thus worshipping the Supreme Lord. Maharaja Antardhana, wrapped in ecstasy, attained his planet very easily. Text 8. Havirdhana, the son of Maharaj Antardhana, had a wife named Havirdhani, who gave birth to 6 sons, namely Brahishta, Gaya, Shukla, Krishna, Satya, and Jitavrata. Text 9. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, Havirdhana's very powerful son named Barishta was very expert in performing various kinds of repetitive sacrifices, and he was also expert in practice of mystic yoga. By his great qualification, he became known as Prajapati. Text 10. Maharaja Barishta execute many sacrifices all over the world. He scattered kusha grasses and kept the top of the grasses pointed eastwards. Text 11. Maharaja Barishta, henceforward known as Prachin, Prachinabhi, Prachinabhari, Brahi, Prachinabhari was ordered by the supreme demigod Brahma to marry the daughter of the ocean named Satyadruti. Her bodily features were completely beautiful and she was very young. She was decorated with the proper garments, and when she came into the marriage arena and began circumlating it, the fire god Agni became so attracted to her that he desired her company exactly as he had desired as he had formerly desired to enjoy Sukhi. Text 12. While Satyadruti was being married, the demons, the denizens of Gandharva Loka, the great sages, and the denizens of Siddha Loka, the earthly planets, and Naga Loka, although highly exalted, were all captivated by the thinking of the ankle bells. Text 13. King Prachinabhari Prachinabhari begot 10 children in the womb of Satyadruti. All of them were equally endowed with religiosity and all of them were known as the Prachetas. Text 14. All these Prachetas were ordered by their father to marry and beget children. They all entered the ocean and practiced austerities and penances for 10,000 years. Thus, they worshipped the master of all austerity, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 15. When all the son of Prachir, Prachina, Prachinabhari left home to execute the austerities, they met Lord Shiva, who, out of great mercy, instructed them about the absolute truth. All the sons of Prachinabhari meditated upon the instruction, chanting and worshipping them with great care and attention. Text 16. Vidura asked Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, why did the Prachetas meet Lord Shiva on the way? Please tell me how the meeting happened, how Lord Shiva became very pleased with them, and how he instructed them. Certainly, such talks are important, and I wish that you please be merciful upon me and describe them. Text 17. The great sage Vidura continued, O best of Brahmanas, it is very difficult for living entities engaged within this material body to have personal contact with Lord Shiva. Even great sages who have no material attachments do not contact him, despite their always being absorbed in the meditation to attain his personal contact. Text 18. Lord Shiva, the most powerful demigod, second only to Lord Vishnu, is self-sufficient. Although he has nothing to aspire for in the material world, for the benefit of those in material world, he is always busily engaged everywhere and is accompanied by his dangerous energies like the goddesses Kali and the goddesses Durga. Text 19. The great sage Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, because of their pious nature, all the sons of Prachinabhari very seriously accepted the words of their father with the heart and soul, and with these words on their head, they went towards the west to execute their father's order. Text 20. While traveling, the Prachetas happened to see a great reservoir of water which seemed almost as big as the ocean. The water of this lake was so calm and quiet that it seemed like the mind of the great soul, and its inhabitants, the aquatics, appeared very peaceful and happy to be under the protection of such water reservoir. Text 21. In that great lake, there were different types of lotus flowers. Some of them were bluish and some of them were red. Some of them grew at night and some in the day, and some, like the Indivara lotus flower, in the evening. Combined together, the lotus flower filled the lake so full that the lake appeared to be a great mine of such flowers. Consequently, all the shores there were swans and cranes, chakravakas, karna, karna, karnadavas, and other beautiful birds standing about. Text 22. There were various types of trees and creepers on all sides of the lake, and there were mad bumblebees humming all about them. The trees appeared to be very jolly due to the sweet humming of the bumblebees and the saffron which was contained in the lotus flower and being thrown into the air. Thrown into the air. This all created such an atmosphere that it appeared as though a festival was taking place there. Text 23. The sons of king became very much amazed when they heard vibration from various drums and kettle drums along the other orderly musical sounds pleasing to the ear. Text 24 and 25. The Prachetas were fortunate to see Lord Shiva, the chief of the demigod, emerging from water with his associates. His bodily luster was just like the molten gold, his throat was bluish, and he had three eyes which looked very merciful upon his devotees. He was accompanied by many musicians who were glorifying him. As soon as saw Lord Shiva, they immediately offered their obeisance in great amazement and fell down at the lotus feet of the Lord. 26. Lord Shiva became very pleased with the Pachetas because generally Lord Shiva is the protector of pious person and person of gentle behavior. Being very much pleased with the he began to speak as follows. Hare Krishna. One of the शुभम को कंटिन्यू करते हैं.
ब्रो आप पढ़ेंगे क्या?
Hare Krishna. Yes, bro. From 26, text 26.
ये है ना, वो तो हो गया था शायद.
अच्छा.
कहाँ से
28.
28 ना समझ लो.
27 तो बोलिए. 27.
Okay. Ji, bro. Text 27. Lord Shiva said, "You are all the sons of King Prachin Bari, and I wish all good fortune to you. I also know what you are going to do, and therefore I am visible to you just to show my mercy upon you." Text 28. Lord Shiva continued, "Any person who is surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, the controller of everything, material nature as well as the living entity, is actually very dear to me." Text 29. A person who executes his occupational duty properly for 100 births become qualified to occupy the post of Brahma, and if he becomes more qualified, he can approach Lord Shiva. A person who is directly surrendered to Lord Krishna or Vishnu is in unalloyed devotional service is immediately promoted to the spiritual planet. Lord Shiva and other gods attend these planets after the destruction of this material world. Text 30. You are all devotees of the Lord, and as such, I appreciate that you are as respectable as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. I know in this way that the devotees also respect me and that I am dear to them. Thus, no one can be as dear to the devotees as I am. Text 31. Now I shall chant one mantra which is not only transcendental, pure, and auspicious, but is the best prayer for anyone who is aspiring to attain the ultimate goal of life. When I chant this mantra, please hear it carefully and attentively. Text 32. The great sage Maitreya continued, out of his causeless mercy, the exalted personality Lord Shiva, a great devotee of Lord Narayana, continued to speak to the king's sons who were standing with folded hands. Text 33. Lord Shiva addressed the Supreme Personality of Godhead with the following prayer. O Supreme Personality of Godhead, all glories unto you. You are the most exalted of all self-realized souls. Since you are always auspicious for the self-realized, I wish that you be auspicious for me. You are perceivable by virtue of the all perfect instructions you give. You are the super soul, therefore I offer my obeisances unto you as a supreme living being. Text 34. My Lord, you are the origin of the creation by virtue of the lotus flower which sprouts from your navel. You are the supreme controller of the senses and the sense objects, and you are also the all pervading Vasudeva. You are most peaceful, and because of your self illuminated existence, you are not disturbed by the six kinds of transformations. Text 35. My dear Lord, you are the origin of the subtle material ingredients, the master of all integration, as well as the master of all disintegration. The predominating deity named Sankarsana and the master of all intelligence, known as the predominating deity Pradyumna. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Text 36. My Lord, as the supreme directing deity known as Aniruddha, you are the master of the senses and the mind. I therefore offer my obeisances unto you again and again. You are known as Ananta as well as Sankarsana because of your ability to destroy the whole creation by the blazing fire from your mouth. Text 37. My Lord, O Aniruddha, you are the authority by which the doors of the higher planetary systems and liberation are opened. You are always within the pure heart of the living entity. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are you are the possessor of semen, which is like gold, and thus in the form of fire, you help the Vedic sacrifices, beginning with Chaturhotra. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you. Text 38. My Lord, you are the provider of the Pitralokas as well as all the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon and the master of all three Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you because you are the original source of satisfaction for all living entities. Text 39. My dear Lord, you are the gigantic universal form which contains all the individual bodies of the living entities. You are the maintainer of the three worlds, and as such, you maintain the mind, senses, body, and ear of life within them. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Text 40. My dear Lord, by expanding your transcendental vibrations, you reveal the actual meaning of everything. You are the all pervading sky within and without, and you are the ultimate goal of pious activities executed both within this material world and beyond it. I therefore offer my respectful obeisance again and again unto you. Text 41. My dear Lord, you are the viewer of the results of pious activities. You are inclination, disinclination, and their resultant activities. You are the cause of the miserable conditions of life caused by irreligion, and therefore you are death. I offer you my respectful obeisances. Text 42. My dear Lord, you are the topmost of all bestowers of all benedictions, the oldest and supreme enjoyer amongst all enjoyers. You are the master of all the world's metaphysical philosophy, for you are the supreme cause of all causes, Lord Krishna. You are the greatest of all religious principles, the supreme mind, and you have a brain which is never checked by any condition. Therefore, I repeatedly offer my obeisances unto you. Text 43. My dear Lord, you are the supreme controller of the worker sense activities. and results of sense activities, karma. Therefore, you are the controller of the body, mind, and senses. You are also the supreme controller of egotism, known as Rudra. You are the source of knowledge and the activities of the Vedic injunctions. Text 44. My dear Lord, I wish to see you exactly in the form that your very dear devotees worship. You have many other forms, but I wish to see your form that is especially liked by the devotees. Please be merciful upon me and show me that form, for only that form worshipped by the devotees can perfectly satisfy all the demands of the senses. Text 45 and 46. The Lord's beauty resembles a dark cloud during the rainy season. As the rainfall glistens, his bodily features also glisten. Indeed, he is the sum total of all beauty. The Lord has 4 arms and an exquisitely beautiful face with eyes like lotus petals, a beautiful, highly raised nose, a mind attracting smile, a beautiful forehead, an equally beautiful and fully decorated ear. Text 47 and 48. The Lord is supre, super excellently beautiful on account of his open and merciful smile and his sidelong glance upon his devotees. His black hair is curly and his garments waving in the wind appear like flying saffron pollen from lotus flowers. His glittering earrings, shining helmet, bangles, garland, ankle bells, waist belts, and various other bodily ornaments combined with conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower to increase the natural beauty of the costly pearl on his chest. Text 49. The Lord has soldiers just like a lion. Upon these soldiers are garlands, necklaces, and epaulets, and all of these are always glittering. Besides these, there is the beauty of the costume money pearl, and on the dark chest of the Lord there are streaks named Srivatsa, which are signs of the goddess of fortune. The glittering of these streaks exhales the beauty of the golden streaks on a gold testing stone. Indeed, such beauty defeats a gold testing stone. हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, यहाँ से आप पढ़ लीजिए.
यहाँ से पढ़ो ना 50 से.
जी गुरु.
Text 50. The Lord's abdomen is beautiful due to 3 ripples in the flesh. Being so round, his abdomen resembles the leaf of a banyan tree. And when he exhales and inhales, the movement of the ripples appears very, very beautiful. The coils within the navel of the Lord are so deep that it appears that the entire universe sprouted out of it and yet again wishes to go back. Text 51. The lower part of the Lord's waist is dark and covered with yellow garments and a belt bedecked with golden embroidery work. His symmetrical lotus feet and the calves, thighs, and joints of his legs are extraordinarily beautiful. Indeed, the Lord's entire body appears to be well built. Text 52. My dear Lord, your 2 lotus feet are so beautiful that they appear like 2 blooming petals of the lotus flowers which grows during the autumn season. Indeed, the nails of your lotus feet emanate such a great effulgence that they immediately dissipate all the darkness in the heart of the conditioned soul. My dear Lord, kindly show me that form of yours which always dissipate all kinds of darkness in the heart of a devotee. My dear Lord, you are the supreme spiritual master of everyone. Therefore, all the conditioned soul covered with the darkness of ignorance can be enlightened by you as the spiritual master. Text 53. My dear Lord, those who desire to purify their existence must have engaged in meditation upon your lotus feet, as described above. Those who are very serious are serious about executing their occupational duties and who want the freedom from the fear must take this process of bhakti yoga. Text 54. My dear Lord, the king in charge of the heavenly kingdom is so desirous of obtaining the ultimate goal of life, devotion service. Similarly, you are the ultimate destination of those who identify themselves with you, Aham Brahmasmi. However, it is very difficult for them to attain you, whereas a devotee can very easily attain your lordship. Text 55. My dear Lord, your pure devotional service is even difficult for liberated persons to discharge, but devotional service alone can satisfy you. Who will take to other processes of self-realization if he actually serious about the perfection of life? Text 56. Simply by expansion of his eyebrows, invincible time personified can immediately vanquish the entire universe. However, formidable time does not approach the devotee who has taken complete shelter at your lotus feet. Text 57. If one by chance associates with a devotee, even for a fraction of moment, he no longer is subject to attraction by the result of karma or jnana. What interest then can he have in the benediction of the demigods who are subject to the laws of birth and death? Text 58. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the cause of all auspicious things and the destroyer of all the contamination of sin. I therefore beg your Lordship to bless me by the association of your devotees who are completely purified by the worshipping your lotus feet and who are so merciful upon the conditioned souls. I think that your real benediction will be to allow me to associate with such devotees. Text 59. The devotees whose hearts has been completely cleansed by the process of devotional service and who is favored by Bhakti Devi does not become bewildered by the external energy, which is just like a dark well, being completely cleansed of all material contamination in the way a devotee is able to understand very happily your name, fame, form, activities, and etc. Text 60. My dear Lord, the impersonal Brahman spreads everywhere like the sunshine over the sky. And that impersonal Brahman which spreads throughout the universe and in which the entire universe is manifested is you. Text 61. My dear Lord, you have manifold energies, and these energies are manifest in manifold forms. With such energies, you have also created this cosmic manifestation. Although you maintain it as if it were permanent, you ultimately annihilate it. Although you are never disturbed by such changes and alterations, the living entities are disturbed by them and therefore they find the cosmic manifestation to be different or separated from you. My Lord, you are always independent and I can clearly see this fact. Text 62. My dear Lord, your universal form consists of all five elements: the sense, mind, intelligence, false ego, which is material, and the Paramatma, your partial expansion, who is the director of everything. Yogis other than the devotees, namely the Karma Yogi or Jnana Yogi, worship you by their respective actions in their respective positions. It is stated both in the Vedas and in the Shastras that the corollaries of the Vedas are indeed everywhere. That is only you who is to be worshipped. That is the expert version of all the Vedas. Text 63. My dear Lord, you are the only supreme person, the causes of all causes. Because the creation of this material world, your material energy remains in the dormant condition. When your material energy is agitated, the three qualities, namely goodness, passion, and ignorance, act, and the result, the total material energy, egotism, ether, air, fire, water, earth, and all the various demigods and saintly persons becomes manifest. Thus, the material world is created. Text 64. My dear Lord, after creating by your own potencies, you enter within the creation in four kinds of forms, being within the heart of the living entities. You know them and know how they are enjoying their senses. The so-called happiness of this material creation is exactly like the bee's enjoyment of honey after it has been collected in the honeycomb. Text 65. My dear Lord, your absolute authority cannot be directly experienced, but one can guess by seeing the activities of the Lord that everything is being destroyed in due course of time. The force of time is very strong, and everything is being destroyed by something else. Just as one animal is being eaten by another animal, time scatters everything exactly as wind scatters clouds in the sky. Text 66. My dear Lord, all living entities within this material world are mad after planning for things, and they are always busy with the desire to do this or that. This is due to uncontrollable greed. The greed for material enjoyment is always existing in the living entity, but your lordship is always alert, and in due course of time, you strike him just as snake seizes a mouse and very easily swallows him. Text 67. My dear Lord, any learned person knows that unless he worships you, his entire life is spoiled. Knowing this, how could he give up worshipping your lotus feet? Even our father and spiritual master Lord Brahma unhesitatingly worshipped you, and the 14 Manus followed in his footsteps. Text 68. My dear Lord, all actually learned persons know you as the Supreme Brahman and the Super Soul. Although the entire universe is afraid of Lord Rudra, who ultimately annihilates everything, for the learned devotees, you are the fearless destination of all. Text 69. My dear sons of the king, just execute your occupational duties as kings with a pure heart. Just chant these prayers, fixing up your mind on the lotus feet of the Lord. That will bring you all good fortune, for the Lord will be very much pleased with you. Text 70. Therefore, O son of the kings, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari is situated in everyone's heart. He is also within your heart. Therefore, chant the glories of the Lord and always meditate upon him continuously. Text 71. My dear princess, in the form of the prayer, I have delineated the yoga system of chanting the holy name. All of you should take this important sutra within your minds and promise to keep it in order to become great sages. By acting silently like a great sage and by giving attention and reverence, you should practice this method. Text 72. This prayer was first spoken to us by Lord Brahma, the master of all creators. The creators headed by Bhrigu was instructed in these prayers because they wanted to create. Text 73. When all the Prajapatis were ordered to create by Lord Brahma, we chanted these prayers in praise of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and become completely free from all ignorance. Thus, we were able to create different types of living entities. Text 74. A devotee of Lord Krishna, whose mind is always absorbed in him, who with great attention and reverence chants his sutra prayer, will achieve the greatest perfection of life without delay. Text 75. In the material world, there are different types of achievements, but of all of them, the achievement of knowledge is considered to be the highest because one can cross the ocean of nations only by the boat of knowledge. Otherwise, the ocean is impossible. Text 76. Although rendering devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worshipping Him are very difficult, if one vibrates or simply reads the sutra prayer composed and sung by me, he will very easily be able to invoke the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 77. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the dearmost objective of all auspicious benediction. A human being who sings this song sung by me can please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such a devotee being fixed in the Lord's devotional service can acquire whatever he wants from the Supreme Lord. Text 78. A devotee who rises early in the morning and with folded hands chants these prayers sung by Lord Shiva and gives facility to others to hear them certainly becomes free from all the bondage to fruitive activities. Text 79. My dear son of the king, the prayers I have recited to you are meant for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Super Soul. I advise you to recite these prayers, which are as effective as great austerities. In this way, when you are mature, your life will be successful and you will certainly achieve all the desired objectives without fail. Hare Krishna. Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dhamma Pranam.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी, दंडवत प्रणाम।
हरे कृष्णा। फोर्थ कैंटो पे आ गए ना?
जी जी प्रभु
जी, ठीक है। जय। तो ओशन ऑफ मर्सी पढ़ के कैसा लगा?
बहुत सुंदर प्रभु जी।
बहुत अच्छा लगा।
व्यूअर हो गए लास्ट में आते आते हम तो।
लास्ट में इमोशनल था थोड़ा।
प्रभु जी रौनक प्रभु रो पड़े कल
पढ़ते पढ़ते।
जी प्रभु जी,
वाह,
भाव विभोर नहीं रो पड़े वो तो।
जय हो भाग्य। कब वो दिन आएगा हमारे जीवन में भी?
ये तो सहजिया मेंटालिटी है प्रभु।
नहीं नहीं, जेन्युइन है। ठीक है, शुरू करते हैं आज। हरि नाम चिंतामणि थोड़ा सा ट्रिकी बुक है, लेकिन इम्पोर्टेंट बुक है एक्चुअली।